Oops. Okay, we are just having a few little technical issues, so give us a minute and we will be right with you. So, welcome everybody to Self Care, and we are so excited to share with you today about demystifying energy healing. And really, what I think we need to demystify first is how to use Instagram through StreamYard because it's so much fun to do this. I'm just going to tell you now. And for those of you that were intending who are maybe on YouTube, but Facebook. Was not able to run it. So what I've done is I've put the YouTube link in the Facebook group for shifting mindset for to reclaim your health, and of course on the main channel. So, but today, yeah. So I have here Dr. Robert Cyprian, and we met in Florida, in Miami, and he is an amazing person, an amazing healer, and he's got a pretty kick butt story, right? That I'm excited to have you all listen to. So without further ado, let me bring on Dr. Robert Cyprian. How are you?
Hey there. Thank you. I'm great. How are you doing today?
I'm really good, and it's interesting. The last two times I've connected this, Facebook just goes down. I'm like, okay, but we've got 5 different platforms that we're working with. So, which reminds me, let me just get Podbean going. So we're also, so Podbean is also not having fun. That's Mercury retrograde for you, is it not?
Sure.
Okay. So, and actually, this is okay because this is being recorded on StreamYard, and so we'll upload it to Podbean, and it'll be available for everyone on every podcast channel available. So, wherever you listen to your podcast, tune into Self Care. All right, let's do this. Tell us, tell me the story. You were a gang member, right? You want to start with that one? Because I want people to know how you got into being a doctor of chiropractic and energy healing and that entire path and the spiritual awakening. Because you were 20, right, when this happened, you said?
Well, I had a big intervention from the universe in my probably early 20s.
Mm-hmm.
And growing up as a kid, I was always kind of mystically inclined. I had a lot of out of body experiences. I was very intuitive, lots of lucid dreaming and stuff like that. Then in my teens, I started kind of getting into just what was in my environment growing up in Queens, New York. So I started hanging out with these guys that kind of developed into a gang, like drug dealing, graffiti, gang fights, shootings, getting beat up by police, arrests, all sorts of different stuff. So I was
Things
just,
that your parents were excited about.
well,
Sarcasm.
not necessarily, but so my father was somebody who used to do work for the Hells Angels in New York. So I grew up with that also. I used to have the former president of the Hells Angels over my house for Sunday dinner and stuff like that and everything. So I grew up in this environment, and that's all I knew. I didn't know any better, or just that was my life, And I found out when I got older, oh, like everyone didn't grow up with stuff like this. Okay, that's weird.
Well, so actually, I recall this conversation now because I think I reciprocated by sharing that we had the mafia up the street and Big Tuna, like I'm not going to use the last names in case because I went to high school with some of them. So, but yeah. Oh, I forgot about that part about your dad. So yeah, keep going.
Yeah. So, I kept things pretty chill with my parents. Once in a while, I got brought home by the police or whatever, this and that. But I was always kind of growing up as the good boy, and also in like my crew, my gang, I was the good boy. I didn't like fighting. I didn't like doing illegal stuff that was going on, except the graffiti. I got really into the graffiti. That was a big thing for me. Back in the 90s, I was internationally known as a graffiti artist, like through magazines, through videos, through the news and stuff like that, and just through kind of word of mouth, just writing graffiti in New York City. So for me, that was something that kind of because I was kind of like a runt with the gang and stuff like that, but the graffiti made me something special. So I kind of clung on to that a lot. But then I had a spiritual intervention. A lot of things happen. I always have intuitive hits about get out of here, don't be there, don't go there, and just kind of knew there was some guidance going on. But at one point, I'm hanging out with a bunch of my friends, and everyone's like stupid high and stuff like that, and we're play fighting, like about, I don't know, 8 of us, like pushing each other around, play fighting, and this like Catholic father, like with the, you know, the collar and everything, walks around the corner very calmly, walks into the middle of our whole group. He starts lecturing all of us, and he points to me at the end and said something like, you got to really get your life path together. You got to get directed to where you're going to go. And it's very important for you. And he like looked literally through me. Like I felt like he looked into my soul and just
I know that.
freaked me out. And all my friends were just like, they just like froze too. And they're watching this guy and like, what the heck? And then he just walked away and walked around the corner. And all my friends start laughing, like, what the heck was that? And I was like, I was in a state of shock just for some reason. And I walked around the corner to see where this guy's going. And I walked around the corner, there's no one there. Like the street was just empty. No
Yeah.
cars, no person, no.
Yeah. And so I get that completely, because we have that here in our home, right? And God shows up, right? Spirit shows up. And it, you know, I'm not a fan of telling people what God you're supposed to follow, right? It's like that. But when he does, it strikes you in a way that's undeniable.
Mm-hmm.
And you become someone different than what you or who you thought you were before. And there's something that just makes you unstoppable, because that's who you are. You're unstoppable. Tell me about what that looked like for you and what happened afterwards.
Well, after that, I kept trying to get out of the neighborhood with, you know, girlfriends or things that would kind of pull me away from the gang of friends I had.
Mm-hmm.
And at one point, within 6 months, I got dumped by my girlfriend. I lost my job. My father was killed. And I'm just like, I am leaving New York. I'm getting out of here.
Mm-hmm.
And I had an idea about becoming a sports doctor. And I was looking at chiropractic already. And I was going to go to school in Connecticut at the time because it's close to New York. I can come back down on the weekends. But after all those 3 things happened in 6 months, I'm like, no, I'm going across the country to Los Angeles to get away from all this. So I'm just leaving.
Yeah.
That set me on my path to Los Angeles to go to school. And after I had another little intervention there and kind of almost got locked up, I got put in the LA gang task force files within the first 3 months of being in LA. I'm like, all right, I got to stop hanging out with these people that I know. I'm just going to focus on school and people that I'm meeting in school. So I cut out all the graffiti, the gangs and everything for like 15 years and just focused on school. And I was blessed to have synchronicities with some of the most amazing mentors I could have met that were way outside of chiropractic, into energy medicine, medicine of the mind, all these other like kinesiology, muscle testing techniques, energy techniques, mental emotional techniques. So I was learning like some stuff in school, but every weekend I was like learning all these other post-grad things already, kind of as much as I could absorb, as much as I could do.
Who are some of your mentors?
The first one was Dr. Howard Cohn. He's lectured around the world, all sorts of circuits and stuff like that. He's very big into applied kinesiology, neuroemotional technique, quantum kinesiology, a lot of different things, quantum neurology. Then there was like Scott Walker from neuroemotional technique. The late and great Dr. Viktor Frank, who developed total body modification. And then Dr. Timothy Francis, who is really breaking down some of these other kind of methods into just quick, these are the basics, this is easy, just kind of taking things and turbocharging it all for doctors to learn. So I went through this whole thing of kind of the holistic chiropractor education for years. And by the time I graduated school, 4 years after moving to Los Angeles, or no, 6 years after moving to Los Angeles, I had to finish up undergrad out there. I moved to Portland, Oregon, and then I started getting into the spiritual work out there because I started having those synchronicities with my spiritual teachers starting in Portland, Oregon.
Wow. And so when you think about the most transformational aha moment that you had after the first spiritual awakening, meaning under these masters, like we're, training and learning from these masters, what was it that really stuck with you the first time? What's that aha moment?
Back then it was I mean, I think it was my own healing because I was extremely sick, had like autoimmune diseases, like irritable bowel. Like I'd eat something and the food would go through me in 20 minutes and I'd be shot for the day. I couldn't function in school, I couldn't concentrate. Like my last semester, so my first year of school, the last semester, the third semester, I had to gauge, like, all right, I need to take my finals. What do I need to pass? Someone has to drive me to school just so I could pass my final, and I'm going back home. Like, I was so screwed up health wise. And I went to this Dr. Timothy Francis in Las Vegas, and he worked on me. And at the time I was living in Los Angeles, I drove to Las Vegas. I walked outside his office after he worked on me for an hour and a half. The sky was bluer, the grass was greener. My body felt 50 pounds lighter. I was able to walk effortlessly. It felt like I was gliding when I was walking. It's like my whole, my vibratory rate of my whole being like increased. And I drove home that night to my girlfriend at the time. I walk in the door and she's doing the dishes. She nearly dropped the dish because she's like, "What happened to you?" I'm like, "What do you mean?" She goes, "Your face is different. Your body is different. What do you do to you?" I'm like, "I don't know. What do you do to me?" All I know is I'm a different person. So then I started learning from him. He was my first big mentor that, number one, saved my life because of all the toxins from, I guess, spray paint and drugs and, vaccinations and all that stuff when I was younger.
Carrot juice.
Yes, he like just helped me get above all that and taught me how to eat right, drink water, take care of myself so these things don't kind of keep reoccurring. So he was the
What year
mentor.
was that, Dr. Robert?
That was about 98, 99.
Mm-hmm. It's an interesting, that's when I got misdiagnosed, but there were so many GMOs that had entered the marketplace prior to that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we all don't understand what's happening to us. And we don't understand why our body's rejecting the food.
Yeah.
And because it was done under the radar.
Mm-hmm. And, I was in school, I was eating as cheap as possible. And yeah.
As we all do. I mean, I'll be the first one to tell you that I would have, shakes, protein shakes that were good. And then before my workouts, it was a Hostess Ho-Hos, Ding Dongs or Twinkies. I would go out for a pizza at some toxic place and split it with my girlfriend. And then macaroni and cheese was my staple. It's 33 cents a box. Right. So actually it wasn't even that expensive back then. Right. So when you're in school, you're counting pennies. Right. And we don't know that we either pay now or pay for it later.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So, I'm very familiar with applied kinesiology. Maybe some people are not. And then there's also variations of AK, right? So I don't, are you familiar with Dr. Sunshine and his AK chronic or no?
No, there's so many different branches out there. It's like, you can just get creative and kind of just, go in any direction you want. And that's the beauty of it,
So tell me about your version.
My version, I just kind of what I learned from my mentors, through the years, just put together for a lot of guidance from Dr. Timothy Francis. I put together kind of just what works for me. And right now, I've kind of come back around to simplicity. I don't work in person with too many people right now. I'm just kind of working more at a distance with people, doing things energy work wise and stuff like that. Because I figured out that you go through this education in life and my career, figuring out all these things I'm fixing the spine, fixing more organs, fixing emotions. I realized you get to a place and you figure out everything's just energy. And the energy
Right.
is only not working well because you're cut off from the source. And so that's like the simplicity of it all.
Yeah, and it's stuck energy. So how do you, I mean, I do most of my work is remote as well. And so how do you why don't you demystify energy healing for us? Let's go there, since now we kind of have an idea about where
Sure.
you came from.
Well, I mean, it goes back to it goes back to science. It goes back to physics. It goes back to, um, whatever. This glass is made of molecules. It's hard on the outside. There's water on the inside. There's some air in there too. But these are all just molecules that break down to atoms, which break down to smaller subatomic particles.
Mhm.
And this is what the whole universe is made of, is these subatomic particles, which are that there's like no matter there. It's just a spinning energy. And that's what
Right.
makes either the density or the permeability of whatever the substance is.
Mhm.
And the thing is, our mind directs all those particles. I mean, there's a simple experiment you could very easily Google. There's thousands of web pages about it and videos and everything. The double slit experiment.
The double slip?
Yeah, double slit experiment.
Okay, should I look it up? Is there a short video we can show people?
There's many, many videos, but I could explain it very easily.
Okay.
They take an electron gun and they shoot electrons through two slits, and it goes to a photographic wall in the back, and it creates like it creates a wave pattern, like like kind of just a bunch of different waves, kind of like when you throw a rock in the pond, it'll create like all these waves.
Yes.
And then what they would do, they're like, all right, let's examine how these electrons go through these two slits. And this is a very boiled down version of this experiment. So they put a little sensor there to observe the electrons going through the slits. And when they put the sensor there to observe them, all of a sudden the electrons would go straight through the two slits and just create two lines instead of a whole wave pattern.
Is that accurate what we're looking at right here?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
But when they take the sensor, when they turn the sensor back off that observes it, it goes back to a normal wave pattern again. So your focus on energy alters energy. And there's many other experiments.
Because we are energy.
Yeah, but our consciousness has control over our world. So that's our external environment, but also our internal environment. Our consciousness has a control over our internal environment. Positive emotions about health, about well-being, about happiness, about manifesting, whatever. We can create our own health to change inside, and also we can change the world outside of us to change by our conscious observation of it.
Would
So
you like to explain, because I think what is really helpful is Masuro Emoto's water experiment.
Oh, yeah.
Do you feel like that would be a good thing to share with people so they could better understand energy? And
Sure.
I can pull up some pictures. Okay.
Yeah. So every thought has an energy pattern. Every word creates an energy pattern. All right. So what Dr. Emoto did, he found when you freeze water, it creates a nice little crystal on top of the water as it's starting to freeze, like a snowflake. If you put a nice word there like love or gratitude, just something that's like a positive word, it creates a beautiful kind of ice structure. If you put something in there like hate or greed or something like that, like a negative word, it creates an asymmetrical pattern in the ice when it freezes.
Mm-hmm.
So you can see how positive brings out more beauty through matter, and negative brings out more asymmetry and just kind of not beautiful structures through matter when it's applied.
Yeah. And so one of the things that I do here on our water filters, I imprint I print out like love, gratitude, all these high vibration words. and they are all over our water filtration system. In addition to structuring the water by running frequencies over the longitude and the latitude of the home, right? And so, and perhaps, I mean, because this is so important for people to understand that they can shift, because here's the other thing, and I'll just close that off. What percent of our body's water?
Yeah.
What percent? About 70, right?
Well, it depends, like 70, 80, something like
Yeah, it
that.
depends on how many ounces of this you're drinking, right?
Yeah. And also, you got to think about your food. I mean, if you also, that's why a lot of cultures just naturally, they always kind of say a word before they eat their meal. They take a moment, they kind of shift their energy. They bless their meal just by kind of giving thanks for it. And that, literally blesses the food you're going to eat. Every morning, I put energy into my water, or just energy work of what I want to create for myself and my day and everything in the first glass of water I drink every day. So you can heal the things in your environment before you put them in your body, but you can also heal your body, and you could heal your outside world too, all the same way. It's by your intent of your consciousness.
Yes. So I just love this conversation. So, it's there's so much to it, right? So I know in many cultures they pray before they eat for a multitude of reasons. It also prepares our own body to receive the food, right?
Parasympathetic nervous system, yeah.
Yep. And we can change, I don't want to say change the DNA. Maybe that's correct. Maybe that's not. But we can shift the energy on the food, meaning one of the reasons I have cut back, I'm not vegan, but I've cut back on meat. Our meat intake is probably anywhere between 6 to 8% of our diet, right? Which is not a lot in comparison to the rest of the world. Because when you slaughter an animal, those cortisol levels go up, and then you're consuming that cortisol, and cortisol is a stress hormone. And so for me, we pray, and we pray with the intention of bringing love into the food that we're consuming, so that we're consuming love and not stress. And I think that's made a huge difference for us, in conjunction, of course, using the frequencies that we use here. But explain to people, if you would, because I think you're an expert on this, on structured water.
Yeah. So,
because it's energy, right? I mean,
this is the thing. So, you ever see Spirit Science, all the spiritual educational cartoons?
So I don't watch TV. So
they're on YouTube. They're on YouTube.
Okay, so I've not seen it.
Yeah, so there's this whole collection of cartoons that go over spiritual concepts very quick, very easy, and they're great, like cartoons, like just really quick. You can watch all these different things on cartoon animated to help you get all these spiritual concepts. And they made one about water, which I never thought about this before, but they go over water. Water, sure, it comes down from the rain. It's going through the brooks, the streams, the rivers, whatever. It comes up from an aquifer from under the ground. But our modern water, even if it's pure, even if it's clean, it gets shoved through these metal or plastic pipes at right angles, and that just beats up the water, and it changes the vibratory rate of real water from nature. Where they can go through all these kind of metal or plastic pipes being closed off and run through
versus a babbling brook.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, if you just give time, and if you don't want to do energy work, and you do some energy work of just kind of love or whatever you want to create for that water, it will change the structure of the water back to a very usable and healthy medium for your body. And, as we said before, every one of our cells is filled with water. We need water in our cells. So, yeah. And that makes up our whole being.
Yeah. So my husband and I were in Blue Ridge, Georgia for about 8 or 9 days. I don't even know. I went into mush brain, so I don't know. And we went hiking in the mineral springs in Blue Ridge. And it was really just amazing to see the babbling brooks.
Mm-hmm.
And not that I haven't seen them before, but as an empath and an intuitive, I could literally feel the difference in the water going down the stream.
Yeah.
I could feel the goodness.
Yeah.
And so for those people who watch this either now or later, who are maybe thwarted by this thing called energy, right? I want to do an exchange. Let's exchange the word energy for prayer. Do you pray? If you pray, that's a form of energy, is it not?
Mm-hmm.
And when you're in need of God's wisdom, you pray to God. And all of a sudden you're hearing or we know it's hearing, but you have an idea. You kind of don't know where it came from, but you got a solution to that problem.
Yep.
And so I feel it's our divine right to hear God. Do you teach people how to hear God?
If
Or
that's
the
what they
spirit?
want,
If
if
that's what
that's
they
if
want.
that's what they want. I mean, some people are just like, just fix me, and some people are like, I need to get control over my life. I want to create things in my life, and then I do some more hand holding and bring them through some deeper work to be able to start to see things and feel things the way I do, or maybe even better than I do.
Right, because if they're younger than you, these
Yeah.
new souls that are coming in that are actually older souls, you're
Yeah.
just basically activating what's already there.
Uh-huh.
Right? So they might be better than you, but they still need you because you need to activate and move that stuck energy,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It's a beautiful thing.
It is. And it could be very simple. It's just you have to have awareness, and you have to just give out the right things to the world, and you receive the right things back.
Mm-hmm.
One of the latest people that I've learned from and had some experience with is this woman, Sasha Cobra. Netflix did a show on her, and I went to a couple of her retreats, which are like 2 weeks long. And what it all boils down to is she teaches you to be present, to just be present in your body, and to come from love. And you don't even have to do a thing. People around you will start changing once you get in this space. So there's no like technique to it. It's a being. She learned you how to really be, how we're truly meant to be, how we're born, to get back to that,
So thank you for saying that, because that's really what it's all about. And I'm glad, because that demystifies it completely. So people think it's all this special work. I'm like, honestly, you have more training than I do. You do. You trained under masters. I trained under some masters after I became a quantum energy healer. Because I'm like, well, maybe I should have some verbiage, you know, maybe I should have some language to go with that, and the thing is that like you, I had a health journey. Mine lasted 2 decades. And as I came out of it, I learned about the power of sound frequency to do a reset on the neural network of the brain, right? And it puts the brain in a theta state. And because I was using it so often, my journey to being the calm, right? Being the Zen girl, right? Fast forwarded because I just lost triggers. Like I just wasn't triggered. I just learned there was always a solution and that the energy would pass, which was probably the most important thing that my doctor of psychology explained to me, because I had bad moments. And she said, but it all passes. Energy passes. And I think that's an important message that we can share with people, because you've had bad moments, have you not?
Every day.
Every day, right? But you breathe through it. How do you breathe through it?
So number one, most important thing is I allow myself to feel it, to fully experience it. All right. Because if you don't fully experience it and you just, oh, I can't deal with that right now, let me shove that back there. We're shoving it into our shadow, which is this like kind of little backpack we have that just builds up with negative energy. And if that thing gets big enough and strong enough, it will literally kill us.
Mm-hmm.
So if you experience it, you process it and it doesn't get stored. So I experience it, and I might experience something negative so bad that I will be shaking and like can't talk for a few moments, but then it starts just depleting. It melts away. And then I decide, what do I want now that I created a vacuum in myself, and I'll bring in whatever I do want to feel after I got that out.
What do you mean? I know what you mean, but what do you mean by you've created a vacuum in yourself?
So because if there was something there you're feeling, it's an energy within you.
Mm-hmm.
And if you process that and it's gone to like maybe a little, molecule, and it's gone, well, now you have an open space in you. And instead of just letting something fill that up, decide, what do you want for yourself right now? What do you want in your life today? Fill that space up with what you choose to have. Take life actively than defaultly by what it's going to give you. You go listen to the news or listen to your friend, you get some negative thing, it fills that space up. Well, there you go. Now there's your anxiety for later, or whatever.
Right. And so it's living on purpose and living with intention is what you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And I, and then the other thing that you said is that you feel your feelings. And, I don't know how old you are. I'm 60, and my brothers were not taught to feel their feelings. So, like, I was born in the 60s, right? 63. And that is harmful to human DNA.
Yeah.
You want to explain what happens when you don't feel your feelings?
Well, you start closing off parts of yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You start compartmentalizing parts of yourself. You start splitting into all these different alternate personalities too. Because if these things don't get resolved, well, part of you just splits off because you don't want to deal with that part.
Mm-hmm.
And you're
fractured. You're fractured, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then also, you're not receptive to the subtleties of energy and the world and what's going around you because you're closed off to feeling things. Like, I don't want to feel things, like block it all out, But the more you feel, the more you get these little subtle energies. You could walk into a room and know what's going on in that room. You could sense things that are happening thousands of miles away from you. Because you have these subtleties that you're now aware of because you want to be aware of everything, the good and the bad that shows up.
Right, because those signals are critically important for our survival and our and not just survive really, but to thrive.
Yeah.
I remember when I woke up a few 4 years into it, I had it that there was a bomb going off, and it did go off, and it went off. We moved the energy from a non-safe place to a safe place for it to go off, because there was like the same energy, but we quashed the energy because there were a lot of kids around, and I was with a master healer, like he's an amazing shaman, one of my teachers, and but we want to feel our feelings. And so if you're listening to this and you've been told that you are not allowed to cry because you're a man or for whatever reason, I would say there's an opportunity to shift your mindset, right? How do you coach people to that? Because you coach people all over the world, right? So how do you coach people to that?
Well, if we find something to be addressed, I ask them, go back to that time and feel it. Feel what it felt like. Feel it so it's uncomfortable. Feel it so that it makes you not happy. Feel it so you feel your body actually changing inside. You viscerally feel change. And as they're doing that, I'll help them kind of move the energy off a little bit from the outside while they're processing the inside. And when we both kind of laser focus from both ends, it just melts. It's just a beautiful thing. And then, we fill it up with something of a greater vibration, a higher vibration, or whatever they want to move forward with that. And there's a great book that kind of teaches people how to do this on their own. It's by David R. Hawkins. He's the author of Power versus Force.
I love it.
This book is called Letting Go, The Pathway to Surrender. That's the top book I recommend to people to just work on themselves with.
Yeah. So I have his list of consciousness here on my wall. And then the other thing I like is the Four Agreements, Miguel Ruiz, right? So I have that on my wall. I was looking for the book. You probably saw me looking the other way because, it's important that that we can learn those Four Agreements, understanding what energy or what moods are, how they play a role in our road to enlightenment, right? And how and when you understand that if you are I want to pull out a good example, or at least a decent example. I have a friend, and he at work was experiencing somebody who was very divisive. So that person was creating divisiveness, okay, in the environment, in the work environment. And what I try to explain to this friend of mine is that if it's showing up for you, it's in you, right?
If it's bugging you, you got it.
Right. If it's bugging you, if it's triggering you, you got it. And, you can take a look at where it's at and clear that, right? And like you said, that leaves a hole or a gap of, where it's housed in your body, what cells, and sometimes it's all those cells or a little bit of each cell, whatever. And then replace it with something that you feel is empowering. And I would add to that, include God's light, along with whatever empowerment that you want to include.
You just got to realize that God's light is everything. That's all there is God's light.
Yeah. But I think sometimes it's helpful for people to have a concept.
Sure. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Like, instead of divisiveness, community.
Yeah.
Right. And God's light.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But they want something so that they have, when they see it in themselves, they have a go-to.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And that's something I use to power charge my affirmations. I first kind of get in the mode of I am God through physical form. I am everything the universe is through my physical form. And then I speak as God. And then I say my affirmations as if God is saying them through me. And it's just like super, super concentrated affirmation,
Yeah. And so that is just so cool. I want to go back to when God showed up and, he looked around the corner and he wasn't there. That's just, do you still have people or energy forms visit you, if you will?
Oof. Yeah. So when I was just getting started in practice, like 2 years in practice, like I had my own office for the first time and was getting a little bit cocky with things. I had one of my regular patients come in. She sits down. She's like, Dr. Cyprian, I got to tell you something. I have breast cancer. Mm-hmm. And she starts going through her diagnosis, everything she's going to do, all the treatment she's going to do. And I'm not listening to her. I'm getting my rebuttal ready in my head for what I'm telling her she's going to do.
Right, right.
And
in there, by the way. Yeah.
And then just appeared in back of her with its arm around her shoulders, about 8 feet tall, just the most beautiful opalescent angel I ever like. It just in real life, it showed up in my office, like with its arm around her, and it just communicated to me, "You're gonna let her do what she needs to do, and you're gonna help her." And I was just like
Wow.
it was literally like a Godsmack. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Wow.
yeah. So that I mean, and I've had other experiences, but yeah, just it just without warning just shows up, and yeah, and I've had internal journey like that too, like with no drugs, no plant medicine, just meditation. When in 2020, in the middle of the pandemic, the first one of those Sasha Cobra retreats I went to, we were workshopping, and about 4 days into it, and she just gently touched my earlobes, just so gently touched them, and I imploded into light, and I felt love that was so powerful and strong that it terrified me. Like, I was dying. I was in such terror because of love, the love I was feeling. I felt I was never going to exist anymore because the love was so strong and potent. And I went through this 45-minute internal journey, but it was terrifying. I cried for like 2 weeks afterwards, but it was pure love. I felt like, then the beauty, like just this journey I went on. It was like, so far in my whole spiritual life of, like 30 years diving into spirit in an organized way, that was the most profound experience I ever had. And my whole external life just started falling like dominoes after that. Everything started changing really quick. And that's when I had to leave DC. I had a nice practice there. I moved to Florida. So everything started changing really quick after that.
The power of love is unrecognizable. Do you agree?
I don't even know what it is yet. I mean, that's as much as I could experience without physically dying. I'm sure there's much more. I'm sure I can't even comprehend what it is.
That's my point.
Mm-hmm.
Like we don't know as earthlings
Yeah.
because we're so busy protecting our hearts and keeping a shield up. You haven't met my bird, and if I could, I'd bring her down, but um, not today's show. She's on the show a lot. You know, her name is Fagala, and back in 2020, I took a picture of her, and as I took the picture, some energy form came through, put a black line going down her breast. Now, it wasn't there, but when I took the picture, it showed up. And that's when I started to realize that she was a griffin and that she was here as my guide, her and Tinkerbell. Tinkerbell's actually the older soul, not as talkative, but certainly the older soul. And the reason, after much meditation, for that line going down the chest was to start with heart.
Hmm.
And it's been the message ever since. And yesterday, it became so profound, and I got so clear on how we're so guarded
Mm-hmm.
that we don't really understand love.
Yeah.
And we speak with an untamed tongue because we don't realize, even though we think we do, how harmful we can be. And I proceeded to do a prayer. And the prayer removed gently from anybody who wanted it energetically the suit of armor around the heart. And I requested that spirit do it in layers so that people could gently open their heart and not be so shocked when they got real love.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'll tell you, I don't know what real love is. And I'll be the first to tell you, but go ahead. I think that you have a huge message here to tell us about love. Please. And
You
it's
know,
Valentine's Day, but go anyway.
2 days ago, go to a coffee shop, and this woman comes in with a beautiful Labradoodle, and this dog is so excited. This dog is just, everything's in wonder. Its tail's going a mile a minute. It wants to smell and be with everybody. It's just pure loving energy.
Mm-hmm.
But she would keep like yanking it to sit and telling her, "Oh no, don't pet it, don't pet her. I'm trying to train her. Don't pet her, don't pet her." She's trying to close her off to the orgasmicness of love, a state that it's in. And I'm like, that's a child. When a child's born, or even when it's still in the womb, it is pure love. And then slowly it's told, no, sit down, no, be quiet, no, do this, no, do that, no, behave. We start systematically shutting down how we could experience love in the children, because they have to conform to society. So that's how we have this, layered up like protection mechanisms, and we can't even feel who we really are meant to be inside, because we were literally trained from the day we're born to shut all that down.
Do you know Tom Whitmire?
No.
Oh, you need to meet him. He talks about that. Like when the baby's born, it's optimal birth solutions. He's been on my podcast a few times. So I'll send you those videos because you all should connect. You'd have a ball talking.
Sounds good.
Actually, we should probably have both of you on the show together is what we should do.
Yeah. And we got to unwind as life goes. We get, if we're doing what me and you were doing with our own healing, self-healing, we got to unwind, and you find mentors that can help you too. And just every day in life's like, all right, where am I going today? What's happening to me today? What am I going to experience today? And just be excited about every day's your next step, next step, next step.
Well, yeah. And here's a really important message. So when we feel stuck, and we all do at some point in time, pray for direction.
Yeah.
Look, Mercury's retrograde. It's been a little tough. Everyone I've talked to, it's been a little tough, right? And so I prayed for direction for the thing that I needed. And lo and behold, it popped up on my feed on Instagram. And I'm usually not even on Instagram. Right. And it's not like a easy solution. It's going to take work on my part, but I have 2 processes to experience so that I can get, basically so I can get to Rome. Mm-hmm. Right. Because we're all trying to get to Rome, so to speak. Right. And I think that there's also that element of, or the expectation that we should have perfection. You want to talk about how great perfection is for us, or having the expectation of perfection?
Well, our only perfection is our spiritual self. That's the only perfection. There is no perfection in this world. Okay. In this world, perfection is realizing there's no perfection and just roll with it every day and keep going. That's perfection in this world. But our only perfection is the spirit that we are, our greater self that we can't even comprehend. That's the only perfection.
Totally. So Teddy says, I'm reading Power versus Force for the second time right now, Kinesiology 101. Do you know that book? I don't.
Yeah, so Power versus Force, that's what changed my life after I started work with the applied kinesiology doctors. Because from Dr. Hawkins' point of view, you can muscle test energetic levels of things and know what you should pursue in life or not. You could test the energetic level of a book. You could test the energetic level of a politician. You could test the energetic level of a company or of a car you want to buy or whatever. And you see where it is on the scale of consciousness. It's made from, or if it exhibits a higher consciousness or a lower consciousness. And it gives you a spiritual map to your whole world. And I started living life from that, of checking everything I'm going to do, everyone I'm going to associate myself with, what my plans are, what I'm going to fill my mind with. I started making sure it was above a certain level in that realm of consciousness, and it pulled me up from the dark energies that I was in. Yeah.
So that's so huge. First of all, thank you for saying that. I muscle test everything, like what I'm going to eat, how I make my smoothie that morning, what ingredients need to go in. Do I need lion's mane or chaga? Do I need cordyceps? Do I need to, put in the mushroom plant-based powder, or do I need to use, more collagen, and how many minerals do I need today? So, you know, and so I muscle test all of that. I muscle test who I accept on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram. I don't let anybody into my field. I could probably have more followers and whatever, but I don't want to open the field to energy that's not going to fuel my growth
Mm-hmm.
and make my heart sing.
Yeah.
So my husband says, Andrew Thayer Calhoun. He says, we all need to open our hearts. Yes, society trains us to shut ourselves down. It's a real thing. It's a real thing. What do you have to say more? Anything else you want to say about that?
It's just, healing is a lifestyle. Don't just do one thing, you're healed. Just don't do the Oprah Deepak meditation for a week and you're healed. Like, healing's a lifestyle. It's a daily thing. It's a daily way of looking at life. And our journey is to get back to who we really are, and whatever the other, accessories are with that along the way, that is for our personal lives. But yeah,
So,
it's a lifestyle.
yeah, I think that understanding that it's a lifestyle, that we have the power to shift energy. And so if something's not working for you, like if you can sense that you have, which is not, I'll just use you and I as an example. It doesn't exist. Let's say you had a negative thought from me, right? Or I had a negative thought from you, because I'll talk about what I would do. Okay. What I'll do is I'll clear the energy on that, and then I'll send you love and grace. Just send you love and grace, because I don't have to know what it is. It's
Yeah.
actually sometimes just none of my business,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because I don't need to know. It likely has nothing to do with me, which is, and the 4 agreements, don't take anything personally. I had to work on that one a long time, and I still work on it, but I'm so much better.
Good.
But sending love and grace.
Yeah. Yeah, I do something similar, and I forget if it comes from Greg Braden or from John Randolph Price. I forget which one it came from, but anyway, they have just a blessing, like, visualization. So anyone's kind of, even if you want to bless somebody, whether they're sending you bad stuff, a blessing is offensive. It negates any bad energy coming toward you. Or you could just bless someone because they need it, or because they are in a good place. So you could
Mhm.
bless anyone for any reason, but send that person blessing, visualize them in their mind's eye, ask God, bless this person in the highest and best way. And visualize the change in your mind's eye of when they're blessed. Notice what changes in them. Because when you visualize and you witness a change, you're actually witnessing their God shifting who they are. And that's
Yes.
how I do a lot of healing. I visualize the change, and then the healing happens because I visualized it already. So, and this is just your imagination. So you bless somebody, watch God bless them, see how they change, then ask God, now bless me, and visualize how you change. And then another important part, because in life there's so much other energy that comes to us, ask for everybody that's witnessed for you too, everyone that knows you too, that who you know or not, just to circle them around you too, and ask for all of them to be blessed too. And then
Oh, I do that all the time. Yeah.
yeah.
So when I first started really doing the deep dive on my energy work, I would do blessings for my family. They didn't know it.
Uh-huh.
Don't need to. but
Yeah.
I blessed them literally. I mean, or if I felt like something was wrong, I would, for people, I would just pray and do energy work and ask permission from God first to make sure it was for, best and highest good. And then I would copy paste that to whoever in the world would need it. Right? Like, I don't even have to know who you are, but if there's a need, you can receive it.
Yep.
Like that. So how can people can get in touch with you, right? 202-780-9212. And you do a lot of remote healings, and they can find that on your website here, the healprofoundly.com.
Yeah, healprofoundly.com. I'm on Instagram as heal_profoundly. That's my professional doctor one. I have a graffiti one too, which is much more popular than my healing one. It's funny. And
Well, I mean, I get that. I mean, people love artwork, they love music. So yeah, no, that's good.
yeah. And yeah, I mean, I have all the links through my website there, healprofoundly.com. You can find me through there. But yeah, best way, phone call. I still do those once in a while, or just an email or whatever. Yeah.
Or text. I texted you. I'm like, hey. I'm not sure. I don't know if you can see the comments from. I think he's just being sarcastic. Can you read that over there or no?
No.
Okay, I think we're gonna ignore it. It looks like sarcasm.
Logan comments here.
Yeah, it looks like sarcasm to me. The last. I'm like, because sometimes I'm naive. I'm just gonna tell you that, like, I get naive. I'm like, so what's that?
Yeah, I don't do that type of work, but yeah, sorry.
What's that?
I don't do that type of work, but sorry, yeah.
Yeah. No, I hear you. So we're at our 1 hour, but I would love to have you come back and we could do a deeper dive in some other areas. You are, your energy is so profound.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, and the fact that you were able, and I want to say able, to open your heart to feel that kind of love that made you vibrate. I mean, there's not a lot of people in the world that can do that, I mean, there's more than what we probably realize, but like the Dalai Lama, right? So but I think it's important that people know what's possible. And so thank you for coming on the show and to share with them what's possible in life, right? That kind of love, that kind of spirituality.
Yeah. You're welcome. Thank you for having me on. And yeah, it's been a journey, and I'm excited for the rest of it. Yeah.
Yeah, and so we're going to share this show. I will upload it to Podbean. They will distribute the show to Amazon, Audible, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Samsung. I don't know, name a podcast channel. So, and YouTube, it'll be on, it's on YouTube, of course. And then we've already put it on Facebook as a YouTube link, but it won't be on Facebook because, Facebook had a bad moment. So had a bad moment in time. So, so I wish you a happy new year. January 2nd, we'll have Michelle Froge, the rock star coach. She's also an intuitive and a healer, and she'll be joining us right after the new year. And I think what we're talking about on that day, give me one moment, is I guess it's not gonna, I think we're talking about breakthroughs, like, what's blocking you from getting to where you need to go, right? Which is energy. Spoiler alert. We're just gonna help you remove that energy. So let me end the show, and if you want to hang out just 1 second, we'll get that going.
Sure.